Subscribe to Storylab for more stories. Now let's begin this one. Chapter 1. Ghosts of Command. Russell Carver stood in his woodworking shop, the smell of cedar filling his lungs as he ran sandpaper across the surface of a rocking chair. 18 years of commanding SEAL team operations had taught him precision. Every stroke deliberate, every angle calculated. Now at 46, he applied those same principles to furniture instead of war. The phone rang. He didn't recognize the international number, but he recognized the prefix. UAE. Dad. Alexandra's voice was steady, but he heard the tremor underneath. The same control she'd learned from him. I need you to listen carefully. I'm on a yacht called the Desert Star, 40 nautical miles off the coast of Dubai. There are 4 of us, me, Celia, and 2 other girls from the resort. A man named Tariq Al-Rashid won't let us leave. He says his father owns half this country, and we're his guests until he decides otherwise. Russell's hand tightened on the phone. Behind Alexandra, he heard male laughter, music, the clink of glasses. When he brought us here, it seemed like a party, she continued, her voice dropping. Now the crew won't respond to us. The security detail has automatic weapons. Dad, he just told me. A man's voice cut in, smooth and amused. Mr. Carver, is it? Your daughter is perfectly safe. She's simply learning about Arabian hospitality. We'll return her when we're satisfied with her company. A week, perhaps 2. You understand. The line went dead. Russell stood motionless for 3 seconds, then moved. He pulled his laptop from a drawer, fingers flying across the keyboard. Within minutes, he had the yacht's registry, specifications, and last known position. Desert Star, a 180-foot custom build worth $400 million, owned by Sheikh Al-Rashid, Minister of Energy for the UAE. Crew of 12, security detail unknown. His daughter was 24, brilliant and stubborn. She'd gone to Dubai for her friend Celia Loomis's bachelorette weekend, a last hurrah before Celia married some hedge fund manager. Alexandra had a master's in international relations from Georgetown and spoke 4 languages. She'd called him because she'd assessed the situation and determined she couldn't talk her way out. That meant force. Russell opened his secure contacts and typed a message to Keith Randall, his former executive officer, now running private maritime security operations in the Gulf. Need immediate intelligence on Desert Star Yacht, Al-Rashid family, and Tariq Al-Rashid. Daughter on board. Not voluntary. Time critical. The response came in 90 seconds. On it. Stand by for call. While he waited, Russell pulled up everything he could find on Tariq Al-Rashid. 28 years old, Oxford-educated, playboy reputation. Photos showed a handsome man with designer stubble and dead eyes. The look of someone who'd never been told no. Multiple allegations of misconduct with women, all buried or settled quietly. His father's wealth and political connections made him untouchable in the UAE. Russell's phone buzzed. Keith's voice was grim. Russ, I've got eyes on that yacht right now. My team tracks it for the insurance company. Tariq's a known problem. This is the 3rd time this year he's pulled this stunt with Western women. The families always take the quiet payout and NDA. Emirates government looks the other way. Not this time, Russell said. What's the security posture? 6-man detail, ex-military, armed with Galilears. Yacht has a helipad, 2 tenders, and a panic room. They run dark at night. No AIS transponder. Right now, they're anchored in international waters, just outside UAE jurisdiction. Can you give me a team? Keith hesitated. Russ, you know I would. But this isn't like the old days. We touch the son of a sheikh, even in international waters, and it becomes a diplomatic nightmare. The State Department. I'm not asking state for permission, Russell interrupted. I need 12 operators, 2 RHIB boats, and extraction. I'll handle the rest. The rest meaning what? Meaning Tariq Al-Rashid needs to learn that not every woman is his to take. And his father needs to learn that his money doesn't buy immunity from consequences. Keith was quiet for a moment. You're talking about hitting a government official's yacht. That's an act of war, brother. No, Russell corrected. It's an act of retrieval. The war comes if they try to stop me. Another pause. I'll make some calls. But Russ, if this goes sideways, I can't protect you. None of us can. I'm not asking for protection. I'm asking for support. 24 hours, Keith. After that, I'm going in alone. Give me 6 hours. I'll call you back. Russell hung up and dialed another number. Carlos Christensen answered on the second ring, his Oklahoma drawl unmistakable. Commander Carver. Been a while. I need the team, Carlos. Emergency extraction, hostile environment, foreign national involved. When you say team, you mean? I mean Team 7. Everyone who'll come. Carlos whistled. That's a big ask. Most of the guys are scattered. Civilian jobs, families, retirement. What's the situation? Russell explained in crisp, tactical terms. When he finished, Carlos said, Your girl? The one who used to beat us at chess when she was 12. That's her. I'll make the calls. When do we move? As soon as we have assets in position. This isn't official, Carlos. No backup, no authorization. Just us. Wouldn't have it any other way, Commander. Sending you a secure link for coordination. I'll have a head count within 2 hours. Russell ended the call and opened his gun safe. His personal arsenal was modest. A Sig Sauer P226, a Remington 870, and his old 416 Hong Kong dollars that he'd bought surplus when he retired. He began field stripping and cleaning each weapon, his hands moving with practiced efficiency. His mind, though, was on his daughter. Alexandra had been 8 when her mother, Nora, died of cancer. Russell had been deployed when it happened, leading a raid in Yemen while his wife took her last breath. He'd made Alexandra a promise at the funeral. He would never fail her again, never leave her unprotected, never let anyone hurt her. For 16 years, he'd kept that promise. He wasn't about to break it now. Chapter 2. The Network. By midnight, Russell's dining room table had become an operations center. 3 laptops displayed satellite imagery, maritime tracking data, and secure video calls. Carlos had assembled a preliminary roster. 11 former team, 7 members willing to deploy within 24 hours, plus Carlos himself. 12 operators, just like the old days. Keith Randall's face appeared on the main screen, haggard but focused. Okay, I've got good news and complicated news. Good news. I can get you 2 ribs and a support vessel, a fishing trawler called the Gulf Star that my company uses for security patrols. She's got speed, range, and she won't raise flags on radar. And the complicated news? Tariq al-Rashid isn't just some spoiled rich kid. My sources say he's involved in his father's less official business ventures. Arms deals, smuggling, offshore banking for groups we definitely don't like. The Sheikh uses him as a cutout for deniable operations. Touching Tariq sends a message that his father's protection racket isn't as solid as he thinks. Russell absorbed this. So he's not just holding my daughter for kicks. He's establishing dominance. Exactly. And here's the twist. His father's been trying to rein him in. Too many scandals, too much exposure. There's a faction in the UAE government that wants Tariq gone, but they can't touch him without politically damaging the Sheikh. You go in there, extract your daughter, and embarrass Tariq in the process? Some people in Abu Dhabi might quietly applaud. That doesn't help my daughter right now, Russell said coldly. No, but it means you might have tacit support from elements who want to see Tariq taken down a peg. I've reached out through back channels. No promises, but there might be eyes looking the other way when you make your move. A new window popped up on Russell's screen. Sean Galloway, his former communications specialist, now working as a defense contractor in Bahrain. Commander, I'm in position. I can be wheels up in 4 hours with a comms package and real-time satellite access. Not military grade, but close. Do it, Russell ordered. Carlos, where are we on personnel? Carlos appeared in another window, his face illuminated by the blue glow of multiple screens. I've got confirmation from Derek Connolly, Luis Atkins, Glenn Reynolds, and Kyle Buck. They're flying into Dubai under tourist visas tonight. Neil Fletcher and Danny O'Neill are en route from Virginia. Rich Shields and Bill Roberson are driving down from Jordan. They were already in the region for a training contract. That's 9 including you and Sean. I need at least 12 for a proper assault. Working on it. Kurt Page is in the wind. Retirement got to him. Last I heard, he was fishing in Alaska. But I've got leads on 3 more. Oh, and Russ. Every single guy I called said yes immediately. No hesitation, no questions about money. They remember Alexandra, and they remember you. Russell felt something tight in his chest loosen slightly. These men had served with him through hell, Fallujah, Kandahar, Yemen, Syria. They'd bled together, lost friends together, and when he'd retired, they'd scattered to the winds. But the bond remained. Tell them I'm covering all costs and hazard pay. This isn't charity. They don't care about the money, Russ. But yeah, I'll tell them. Keith leaned forward on his screen. I've got another resource for you. There's a woman here in Dubai, Ruby Kane, former CIA, now runs an intelligence consultancy. She's got contacts inside the Al Rashid household, servants, drivers, people who owe her favors. If you want intel on Tariq's routines, security protocols, or his mental state, she can get it. Can she be trusted? She's got no love for the Al Rashids. Tariq assaulted her assistant 2 years ago. Ruby tried to bring him down through official channels, but the fix was in. She's been waiting for an opportunity ever since. I'll set up a meeting. Russell checked the time. 6:47 a.m. in Dubai. Alexandra had been on that yacht for 9 hours. Every minute increased the risk of escalation. His secure phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Dad, it's me. Borrowed a phone from one of the crew who's sympathetic. We're okay so far. He's keeping us on the upper deck, treating it like we're willing guests. Celia is scared but holding up. The other 2 girls are Sharon Lawson and Veronica Mansfield. They're younger, early 20s, terrified. Tariq keeps talking about showing us real luxury and making sure we understand our place. He's high on something, cocaine, I think. Security is tight, but professional. They don't seem happy about this. I'm going to try to. The message cut off. Russell's jaw clenched. The fact that Alexandra could text meant the crew wasn't completely under Tariq's control. Dissent in the ranks. That was exploitable. He typed back, stay calm. Help is coming. Trust no one completely. I love you. The message showed as delivered, but not read. Gentlemen, Russell said, addressing all the screens. We go operational in 18 hours. I want full mission planning, equipment manifests, and contingencies by 0600 Dubai time. Sean, I need continuous satellite coverage of that yacht, and thermal imaging if you can get it. Keith, coordinate with Ruby Kane and give me everything she has. Carlos, integrate the team as they arrive and establish a secure staging area outside Dubai proper. What about you? Keith asked. I'm wheels up in 3 hours. I'll be in Dubai by tomorrow morning. He paused. And Keith? I want an exit strategy that doesn't rely on UAE cooperation. Once we have the girls, we need to be gone before anyone can stop us. I'm working on it. There's a private airfield in Oman, across the border. If we can get you overland, I've got a plane that can have you in international airspace within 2 hours. Make it happen. Russell closed the laptops and stood, his body remembering the pre-mission rhythm, the controlled adrenaline, the focus narrowing to a single point. He thought his days of tactical operations were over. He thought he could settle into furniture and peace. But some things were worth going back to war for. His daughter was one of them. Chapter 3, Into the Gulf. The flight to Dubai was 14 hours of forced stillness. Russell sat in business class, appearing to sleep while his mind ran through tactical scenarios. The yacht was a fortress, but every fortress had weaknesses. The crew's evident discomfort with Tariq's actions suggested divided loyalties. The security team was professional, which meant they had rules of engagement and lines they wouldn't cross. Tariq himself was the wild card, arrogant, impulsive, possibly under the influence. Russell landed at 9:15 p.m. local time and cleared customs with his tourist visa, carrying only a small duffel bag. No weapons, no tactical gear. Everything he needed would be waiting. A car was parked in the pickup zone, a dusty Land Cruiser with tinted windows. The driver was a compact woman with sharp eyes and silver-streaked dark hair. She extended her hand. Ruby Kane. Keith said you needed local support. Appreciate you coming. Your daughter's situation hits close to home for me, Ruby said as they pulled into traffic. Tariq al-Rashid is a cancer. His father enables him, the government protects him, and women pay the price. If you're really planning what Keith says you're planning, I want in. I don't need field operators. I need intelligence. And I'll give you the best intelligence you've ever had. But I also want to see that bastard's face when he realizes he's not untouchable. She handed him a tablet. Here's what I've compiled in the last 6 hours. Russell scrolled through the dossier. Personnel files on the yacht's crew, names, backgrounds, families. Captain Omar Moses, a 52-year-old Egyptian with 30 years of maritime experience and a daughter the same age as Alexandra. Chief of Security Walter Bishop, former British SAS, divorced, working for Al-Rashid Money, but reportedly uncomfortable with Tarek's behavior. The crew were mostly Filipino and Indian nationals, underpaid and overworked. Omar is your key, Ruby said. He's a good man, trapped in a bad situation. If you can reach him, he might help from the inside. How do I reach him? His brother works at the marina where the Desert Star refuels. I already made contact. Omar knows what's happening is wrong, but he's afraid for his job and his family. If you can guarantee his protection. Done. Set up a call. They drove to a warehouse district on the outskirts of Dubai, where the rest of the team was assembling. The Gulf Star, Keith's trawler, was docked at a private marina nearby. Inside the warehouse, Russell found his team. Carlos Christensen gripped his hand. Good to see you, Commander. The band's back together. Derek Connolly, Luis Atkins, Glenn Reynolds, Carl Buck, Neil Fletcher, Danny O'Neill, Rich Shields, Bill Roberson. Faces he'd led through countless operations, older now but still sharp. They'd set up a tactical operations center with maps, weapons, and communication equipment. Status, Russell ordered. We got 2 ribs prepped and loaded, Carlos reported. HK 416S, night vision, breaching charges, flashbangs, and medical supplies. Sean's got satellite coverage locked in. We'll have real-time imagery during the operation. Keith's coordinated with his security contacts to create a distraction on the mainland, a fake emergency that'll pull Coast Guard assets north when we move. Exfil plan. Overland to Oman. Ruby's arranged vehicles and documents. Once we cross the border, we've got a charter waiting at a private airfield. Wheels up to Cyprus, then commercial flights home. Sean Galloway looked up from his laptop. Commander, I've got something. Thermal imaging shows your daughter and the 3 other women are confined to the upper deck's starboard guest suite. Tarek's in a master cabin 1 level down. Security team rotates in 3-hour shifts, 6 men, 2 per station. The crew quarters are forward. Captain Omar sleeps in a cabin near the bridge. What about weapons? Gallo ACE rifles, as reported. Sidearms unknown, probably Glock or SIG. No heavy weapons visible, but there could be more in the armory below decks. Russell studied the yacht's layout on the screen. We hit them at 0300 during the shift change. 2 teams. Alpha takes the bridge and captain's deck. Bravo secures the guest suite and extracts the women. I'll lead a 3rd element directly to Tarek. We go in fast and quiet. No casualties unless they force our hand. What about Tarek? Danny asked. He's going to scream bloody murder. Let him scream, Russell said. Once we have the girls, he's irrelevant. He's not going to see it that way, Ruby interjected. Men like Tarek don't tolerate humiliation. He'll come after you, after your daughter. He has resources and connections. Then we make sure he understands the cost of that decision, Russell replied, his voice hard. I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to retrieve my daughter and send a message. Women are not property, and fathers protect their children. If Tarek wants to escalate, he'll discover what happens when you threaten a SEAL's family. The room went quiet. These men knew that tone. It meant the gloves were off. All right, Carlos said. Let's gear up. We've got 5 hours until go time. As the team dispersed to prep equipment, Russell pulled Ruby aside. The call with Omar. Set it up now. 10 minutes later, Russell was on a sat phone with the yacht's captain. Omar's voice was strained. Mr. Carver, I am sorry for what is happening to your daughter. This is not. I did not sign up for this. I know, Captain. I've read your record. You're a good man in a bad situation. If I help you, Sheikh al-Rashid will destroy me. My family. I'll get you out. You, your family, whatever you need. New passports, new country, financial support. But I need your help tonight. Omar was silent for a long moment. What do you want me to do? At 0300, I need you to disable the yacht's communications and cut the power for 60 seconds. That's all. 60 seconds of darkness and silence. The security team will respond immediately. Let me worry about them. Can you do this? Another pause. Your daughter, she is brave. She has been protecting the younger girls, keeping them calm. She reminds me of my own daughter. Then help me get her home. 0300, Omar said quietly. I will do it. But Mr. Carver, Tarek has a satellite phone with direct line to his father. Even if you take the yacht, he can call for help. I'm counting on it, Russell said. I want his father to know exactly what happened here. He ended the call and checked his watch. 4 hours and 37 minutes until the assault. His daughter had been held for nearly 24 hours. The waiting was almost over. Chapter 4, Darkness Falls. The Gulf Star cut through black water at 30 knots. Her engines muted to a low rumble. 2 ribs trailed behind, tethered and ready. Russell stood on the bridge beside Keith Randall, watching the thermal display as the Desert Star materialized 3 miles ahead. A bright constellation of heat signatures. Satellite confirms positions. Sean's voice crackled through Russell's earpiece. 6 security on station, crew mostly in quarters. Tarek's still in the master cabin. Your daughter and the others are in the guest suite. Thermal shows they're awake. Weather, clear skies, light wind from the northeast. Moon's quarter phase, good for us. Russell keyed his radio. All teams, final comms check. The responses came crisp and professional. Carlos leading Alpha Team. 6 men tasked with securing the bridge and crew quarters. Derek commanding Bravo Team. 4 men responsible for the hostage extraction. Russell would take Luis and Glenn as Charlie Team, targeting Tar directly. At 2:45 a.m., the Gulf Star cut engines and drifted 2,000 yards from the Desert Star. The ribs launched silently, their electric motors barely rippling the water. Russell, in the lead boat with Charlie Team, felt the old familiar focus settle over him. Breathing slowed, vision sharpened, mind clear. Approaching target, Carlos whispered. No visible sentries. The ribs split, approaching from different angles. Russell's boat headed for the stern, where a dive platform provided access. Alpha would hit the bow. Both teams carried suppressed weapons and night vision. At 2:58, they were in position. Russell could see the yacht clearly now, a floating palace of white and chrome, lights blazing from the upper decks. Music drifted across the water, and shadows moved behind curtain windows. 60 seconds, he said softly. The teams synchronized their watches. Russell pulled on his night vision goggles, checked his 416 Hong Kong dollars, and felt Luis and Glenn settle into position behind him. These were men who'd breached compounds in Ramadi, cleared kill houses in Kandahar. A luxury, Yacht was just another target. 30 seconds. His thoughts flashed to Alexandra. Her first day of school, her high school graduation, the day she left for college. The promise he'd made at her mother's grave. 10 seconds. Then, precisely at 0300, the Desert Star went dark. Every light extinguished. The music died. For exactly 3 seconds, there was perfect silence. Then Russell and his teams moved. Chapter 5, Breach and Clear. Russell hit the dive platform running, Luis and Glenn flanking him. The night vision turned the world into green shadows and sharp contrasts. A security guard appeared at the stern rail, confused by the sudden darkness. Russell put him down with a suppressed 3-round burst to the chest, catching the body before it fell. Charlie is aboard, he whispered, moving to master cabin. Alpha is forward, Carlos reported. 2 tangos down, crew quarters secured. Bravo approaching guest suite, Derek added. No resistance yet. The yacht's interior was opulent. Marble floors, gold fixtures, original artwork on the walls. Russell moved through it like smoke, weapon up, scanning corners. His blueprint memorization was perfect. Left at the grand staircase, down 1 level, 3rd door on the right. Behind him, Luis and Glenn covered the corridor. Somewhere above, shouts erupted as the security team realized they were under assault. Gunfire cracked, unsuppressed, echoing through the yacht's interior. Alpha taking fire, Carlos reported, voice steady. Bridge secured. Captain Omar is cooperative. 2 security moving to your position, Commander. Copy. Russell reached the master cabin as 2 men rounded the corner, gallo rifles raised. He dropped prone, firing upward, 4 shots, both men down. Glenn was already moving past him, breaching the cabin door with a tactical charge that blew the lock without excessive noise. The door swung open. The master cabin was massive, king bed, sitting area, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. Tariq al-Rashid stood in the center, wearing silk pajama pants and nothing else, a satellite phone in his hand. "You're too late," he said in perfect English, his eyes wild and dilated. "I've already called my father. Do you know what you've done? This is an act of war against the UAE. My father will have you killed. Your entire family." Russell crossed the room in 3 strides and drove his fist into Tariq's solar plexus, doubling him over. The satellite phone clattered to the floor. "You took my daughter," Russell said quietly, his voice like ice. "You threatened her. You held her against her will. That was your act of war." He zip-tied Tariq's hands behind his back and shoved him into a chair. "Luis, secure this room. Glenn with me. Bravo has secured the hostages." Derek's voice came through the earpiece. "All 4 women are safe. Moving to exfil point." Relief flooded through Russell, but he kept his face neutral. "Copy that. Alpha, status. Bridge secure. All crew accounted for and compliant. Captain Omar is asking to speak with you." "On my way." "Charlie 2, stay with our guest. If he moves, break his legs." Luis grinned. "With pleasure, Commander." Russell found Captain Omar on the bridge, his face ashen but resolute. The older man straightened when Russell entered. "Your daughter is brave, Mr. Carver. She never broke. Thank you for your help. The offer stands. We'll get you and your family out." "I accept. My career is over regardless. Better to start fresh than live under the al-Rashids." "Good man." Russell turned to Carlos. "Secure the yacht's log, all communication records, and any files related to Tariq's activities. I want evidence of everything he's done." "Already on it. And Russ, you need to see this." Carlos pointed to a laptop open on the navigation station. The screen showed video files, dozens of them, labeled with women's names and dates. "He's been recording everything. This isn't just about your daughter. This is a pattern." Russell's jaw tightened. Every file represented another victim. Another woman terrorized by a man who believed his wealth made him invincible. "Copy everything," he ordered. "We're taking it all." He made his way to the upper deck, where Derek had assembled Alexandra and the 3 other women. His daughter looked exhausted but unharmed, her arm around a younger woman who was crying softly. When Alexandra saw him, her composure finally cracked. "Dad." He pulled her into a tight embrace, and for a moment they were just father and daughter, not commander and victim. "I've got you," he said quietly. "You're safe now. Celia and the others. Everyone's coming home." Alexandra pulled back, her eyes fierce despite the tears. "What about him? He can't get away with this." "He won't." Chapter 6, The Message. 20 minutes later, the hostages and Omar's family were aboard the Gulf Star, being treated by the team's medic and wrapped in blankets. The Desert Star floated empty except for Russell, Carlos, and the zip-tied Tariq al-Rashid in a master cabin. Russell's phone buzzed. An incoming call from Keith. "Russ, I've got Sheikh Hassan al-Rashid on another line. He's threatening military action. Says he's dispatching naval units, and you have 10 minutes to surrender. Tell him his son is alive and unharmed. Tell him we're sending him a message about consequences." "What kind of message?" Russell looked at Tariq, who was sweating despite the air conditioning. "A personal one. Stand by." He set his phone to record and addressed Tariq. "You're going to do exactly what I say. You're going to call your father back and tell him what happened here. I'll tell him you're terrorists. You assaulted a civilian vessel, kidnapped a UAE citizen. You kidnapped 4 American women. You held them against their will. You threatened them. And we have proof." Russell held up a flash drive containing the copied video files, "that you've done this to at least 16 other women over the past 3 years. Tariq's face went pale. "So here's what's going to happen," Russell continued. "You're going to call your father and explain that his protection can't save you anymore. You're going to tell him that these women are going home. You're going to publicly apologize, and you're going to turn yourself into international authorities. I'll do no such thing. My father, your father, is a smart man. He knows when a fight is unwinnable. Russell leaned closer. I was a SEAL commander for 18 years. I have 40 men scattered across 6 countries who owe me favors. If anything happens to my daughter, to any of these women, to me, or my team, that video evidence goes to every major news organization in the world. Your family's reputation, your father's political career, everything gone. He paused. But if you cooperate, if you face justice, the evidence stays sealed. Your father remains powerful. Your family's honor, such as it is, survives. You'll serve time, but you'll live. That's the deal. Tarek was shaking now, his arrogance finally cracking. You don't understand the forces you're dealing with. I understand exactly what I'm dealing with. A coward who preys on women because he knows they're vulnerable. But I also understand leverage, and right now I have all of it. Russell stood and nodded to Carlos, who brought in a laptop with a secure video link. Sheikh Hassan al-Rashid's face appeared on screen. A distinguished man in his 60s, his expression thunderous. Who are you? The Sheikh demanded in accented English. Russell Carver, former Navy SEAL commander. You kidnapped my daughter. My son invited your daughter to a party. Your son held her and 3 other women against their will. Your son has a pattern of this behavior, which I can prove. And your son is about to face consequences. Russell turned the laptop so the Sheikh could see Tarek, bound and terrified. The Sheikh's expression shifted from anger to calculation. You're threatening a government official of the United Arab Emirates. I'm protecting my daughter. There's a difference. What do you want? Money? There are diplomatic channels. I don't want money. I want you to understand something. Your protection ends where my family begins. You can be as powerful as you want in the UAE, but the moment your son crossed into international waters and took American citizens, he became subject to international law. And I'm here to enforce it. Russell held up the flash drive. I have evidence of 16 victims. 16 families who could have called authorities, but didn't because they were afraid of your power. I'm not afraid. And if you come after me, after my daughter, after anyone on my team, this evidence goes public. Your political career ends. Your son's crimes become international news. Everything you've built, destroyed. The Sheikh was silent for a long moment, his eyes hard. Finally, what are your terms? Your son surrenders to international authorities. He faces trial for kidnapping and assault. You use your influence to ensure the trial is fair, but not to interfere with justice. In exchange, the evidence remains sealed. Your family's other business interests remain private. And if I refuse, then I burn it all down. Every dirty deal, every hidden account, every connection to groups the international community frowns upon. Ruby Kane sends me her regards, by the way. She's been very helpful. The Sheikh's face flickered with recognition and concern. Ruby's name carried weight. She knew where bodies were buried. You have 48 hours to decide, Russell continued. After that, the evidence goes public regardless. Your move, Sheikh. He ended the call. Tarek stared at him in disbelief. You just threatened one of the most powerful men in the Middle East. No, Russell corrected. I just gave him a choice, justice or destruction. That's more than you gave my daughter. He turned to Carlos. Extract the team. Leave Tarek here with a working radio. His father can come get him. You're just leaving me here? Russell paused at the doorway. Your father protected you your whole life. Let's see if he still will after what you've cost him. Chapter 7. Extraction. The convoy of 3 SUVs raced through the desert darkness toward the Omani border, headlights cutting through the pre-dawn gloom. Russell sat in the lead vehicle with Alexandra, who stared out the window in silence. Behind them, the other hostages, Celia Loomis, Sharon Lawson, and Veronica Mansfield, rode with Derek and Neil. The rest of the team was split between the third vehicle and Keith's support crew handling the cleanup. Talk to me, Russell said quietly to his daughter. Alexandra turned to him, her face illuminated by the dashboard lights. When he first invited us to the yacht, it seemed harmless. A party, champagne, meeting interesting people. Celia was excited. She said it would be a story for her wedding. But the moment we were out of sight of land, everything changed. His smile turned cold. The crew stopped making eye contact. We were prisoners. Did he hurt you? Not physically, but the threat was always there in every word, every look. He kept saying we should feel honored, that women would kill for the opportunity to be with him. When I tried to leave, he laughed and said, "Your father is a carpenter in America. What's he going to do?" Russell's hands tightened on his seat. "I stopped being a carpenter the moment you called. I knew you would come. I just didn't know how." Alexandra looked at him with a mixture of pride and concern. "What you did back there, threatening a sheikh, assaulting his yacht, taking that evidence. You've made powerful enemies, Dad. I've had powerful enemies before. They didn't win then, either. This is different. These people don't fight fair. Neither do I when my family is threatened." They reached the border crossing at 5:47 a.m. Ruby Kane's contacts had arranged expedited passage. The Omani border guards waved them through without inspection. 20 minutes later, they were at the private airfield, where a chartered Gulfstream G550 waited, engines already spooling up. As the team loaded gear and helped the women aboard, Carlos pulled Russell aside. "We've got a problem. Sean's monitoring communications. The UAE government just issued international warrants for your arrest. Terrorism, piracy, assault on a government official. Expected. What about the rest of you? They're focusing on you for now. Keith's security company is taking heat, but nothing actionable yet. Good. Get everyone home safely. I'll handle the fallout. Russ, they're serious. Interpol, State Department, they're putting pressure on everyone." Russell climbed the plane's stairs. "Then I better make sure I have enough ammunition to fire back." The flight to Cyprus took 4 hours. Russell spent most of it on encrypted calls with Ruby Kane, who was coordinating the media strategy, and a lawyer named Alfredo Marshall whom Keith had recommended, a former JAG officer who specialized in international law. "The warrants are political theater," Alfredo explained over the sat phone. "The UAE is trying to save face. But they have a problem. Your daughter and the other women are prepared to testify about what happened. That makes it a kidnapping case, not terrorism. And the evidence you recovered, if it shows a pattern of behavior, completely undermines their narrative. So what's the play? We go public first. Hold a press conference, let the women tell their stories, release carefully selected evidence. The court of public opinion matters here. The UAE won't push too hard if it means their dirty laundry gets aired internationally. And if they do push, then we release everything. But I don't think it'll come to that. Sheikh al-Rashid is too smart. He'll cut his losses with his son rather than risk his own position." The plane landed in Cyprus at 2 p.m. local time. A crowd of reporters was already waiting, tipped off by Ruby's media contacts. Alexandra emerged first, flanked by Celia, Sharon, and Veronica. All 4 women looked tired but determined. The press conference was held in a hotel ballroom an hour later. Alexandra stood at the podium, her voice steady as she recounted the events. "Tariq al-Rashid held us against our will for over 24 hours. He threatened us, intimidated us, and made it clear we were his property. When we tried to leave, we were told that his father's power made him untouchable." She paused, looking directly at the cameras. "But my father is Russell Carver, a retired Navy SEAL who taught me that no one is untouchable when they commit crimes. He assembled a team of heroes who risked everything to save us. The UAE government wants to call them terrorists, but they're the opposite. They're protectors who stood up when diplomatic channels failed." The room erupted with questions. Celia Loomis stepped forward. "I want to be clear. We are alive and safe because Russell Carver and his team acted when no one else would. The UAE owes us an apology, not the other way around." Alfredo Marshall fielded the legal questions, carefully framing the operation as a justified rescue mission in international waters. When asked about the evidence Russell had recovered, he smiled. "We have extensive documentation that supports the women's testimony. We're prepared to share it with appropriate authorities if the UAE continues to pursue false charges against Mr. Carver and his team." Chapter 8. Consequences. The fallout was immediate and global. Within 24 hours, the story had exploded across international media. #SaveBySeals trended on social media. Former SEAL team members gave interviews praising Russell's actions. Parents of other victims came forward with their own stories about Tariq al-Rashid, emboldening a growing chorus of accusers. The UAE found itself in an impossible position. Public opinion had turned decisively against them. Several European countries announced they were reviewing their diplomatic relationships. American senators called for sanctions if the warrants against Russell weren't withdrawn. Sheikh Hassan al-Rashid read the room and made the calculation Russell had anticipated. His son wasn't worth his career. 3 days after the rescue, the UAE issued a terse statement. The warrants against Russell Carver and his team were withdrawn due to new evidence. Tariq al-Rashid would be tried in an international court for kidnapping and related charges. The Sheikh announced his resignation from his ministerial position, citing personal reasons. Russell watched the news from his safe house in Cyprus, surrounded by his team. When the announcement came through, Carlos raised a glass. To the commander, still undefeated. The men cheered, but Russell's mind was elsewhere. He pulled up the secure server where Ruby had stored the full evidence files. Not just Tariq's crimes, but the connections she'd uncovered to the al-Rashid family's darker dealings. Armed shipments to sanction groups, money laundering networks, bribery and corruption reaching into multiple governments. "What are you thinking?" Keith asked, appearing beside him. "I'm thinking that Tariq going to trial is good, but it's not enough. His father enabled him for years, protected him, used his wealth to make victims disappear. The Sheikh is resigning, but he keeps his freedom, his money, his influence. Russ, you won. Your daughter is safe. Tariq is facing justice. Don't push it." "I'm not pushing. I'm finishing." He called Ruby Kane. "The evidence we discussed, the Sheikh's offshore accounts, the weapons deals, the bribery network. I want it all sent to the International Criminal Court, the FBI, Europol, and every investigative journalist you trust." Ruby was quiet for a moment. "That scorched earth, Russell. The Sheikh has powerful friends. You'll make enemies that won't stop coming. They came after my daughter. I'm just returning the favor." "All right, but you need to understand, this isn't just about the al-Rashids anymore. You're going after an entire system of corruption and privilege. That's a war you might not win." "Then I'll lose fighting something that matters," Russell said. "Do it." Over the next week, the story grew exponentially. Major newspapers published exposés about the al-Rashid family's criminal empire. International authorities froze assets. Former business partners scrambled to distance themselves. The Sheikh, once untouchable, found himself facing indictments in multiple jurisdictions. Tariq's trial began in The Hague. The evidence was overwhelming. 16 victims testified, and the video files Russell had recovered left no room for doubt. The defense tried to argue diplomatic immunity, but the judges were unmoved. Tariq al-Rashid was convicted on 12 counts of kidnapping, assault, and coercion. He received 25 years in an international prison facility. His father, Sheikh Hassan, fared worse. The corruption investigation uncovered a web of illegal activity stretching back decades. By the time prosecutors finished, he faced over 40 charges. At his preliminary hearing, the once powerful minister looked diminished, his arrogance replaced by the hollow stare of a man who'd lost everything. Russell watched the trial coverage from his workshop in Virginia, which he'd finally returned to 6 weeks after the rescue. The rocking chair he'd been building when Alexander called was still on his workbench, half finished. He picked up the sandpaper and got back to work. Chapter 9. Home. 3 months after the yacht rescue, Russell's house hosted an unusual gathering. The members of the team who'd participated in the operation had flown in for a reunion. Carlos, Derek, Luis, Glenn, Keith, Sean, and the others. Alexander was there too, along with Celia Loomis, who'd brought her new husband. Even Captain Omar attended, having successfully relocated his family to the United States under a witness protection agreement. They gathered in Russell's backyard for a barbecue. The atmosphere relaxed and celebratory. War stories were shared, old jokes retold. But underneath the camaraderie, there was a deeper satisfaction. They'd done something right, something that mattered. "So what's next for you, Commander?" Carlos asked, nursing a beer. Russell looked at Alexandra, who was laughing with Celia and some of the other team members. I'm thinking I'm done with retirement. Maybe I start a security consultancy, something focused on extraction, hostage rescue, the kind of work that helps families when governments can't or won't. You'd be good at it, Keith said. And you'd have a ready-made team. I'd have the best team, Russell corrected. The question is whether you're all crazy enough to sign up again. Carlos grinned. Crazy is what we do best. As the evening wore on, Alexandra found Russell alone on the porch, looking out at the sunset. She sat beside him, resting her head on his shoulder the way she had when she was a child. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For not asking permission. For not waiting for someone else to save me. For being exactly who I needed you to be. Russell wrapped an arm around her. I made you a promise a long time ago. I meant it. I know. And now I understand what you did all those years in the teams. It wasn't about politics or policy. It was about protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. That's what it's supposed to be about. Doesn't always work that way, but when it does... He trailed off. When it does, you save people like me, Alexander finished. So what about Tarek and his father? Do you think they'll really pay for what they've done? Russell thought about the trial, the evidence, the systematic dismantling of the Al-Rashid Empire. They're paying. Tarek will spend the next 2 decades in prison. His father lost his power, his wealth, his freedom. But more importantly, the world saw that wealth and connections aren't immunity. That's the message that matters. And the other victims? The 16 women he hurt before us. Most are getting therapy, legal support, and compensation from the seized Al-Rashid assets. Ruby Kane has been coordinating support services. They'll never forget what happened to them, but at least they got justice. Alexandra was quiet for a moment. You know, when I was on that yacht, I kept thinking about what you always told me. Assess, adapt, act. I assessed the situation, adapted by finding the sympathetic crew member, and acted by getting that message to you. You did everything right. I'm proud of you. I learned from the best. She smiled. So this security consultancy, you're serious about it? I am. There are too many situations like yours, where people fall through the cracks of official channels. Someone needs to stand in that gap. Then I want in. I speak 4 languages, I have a master's in international relations, and I've got first-hand experience with what your clients will be going through. Plus, someone needs to handle the diplomatic side while you and your team do the door kicking. Russell looked at his daughter, no longer the little girl he'd carried to bed, no longer even the college student he'd worried about from afar. She was a woman now, strong and capable, forged by trauma, but not broken by it. I'd be honored to have you on the team, he said. Later that night, after the guests had left and the house was quiet, Russell stood in his workshop. The rocking chair was finally finished. Every joint tight, every surface smooth, every detail perfect. It had taken him months to complete, interrupted by a voyage halfway around the world to rescue his daughter. He ran his hand along the armrest, feeling the grain of the wood. 18 years as a SEAL had taught him to build things quickly, efficiently, functionally. But this chair was different. It was built with patience, with care, with love. It was built to last, just like the promise he'd made to Alexandra, just like the team he'd led, just like the new mission they were about to embark on together. Russell Carver had spent most of his life in the shadows, doing the work that needed to be done without recognition or glory. He'd retired thinking that chapter was closed. But some things were worth coming out of retirement for. Some fights were worth fighting. Some promises were worth keeping, no matter the cost. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Mr. Carver, my name is Geneva Cervantes. My sister is being held in South America by cartel leader who says she owes him money. The authorities won't help. I saw the news about what you did. Can you help me? Russell looked at the message for a long moment, then typed his response. Send me the details. We'll get her back. He set the phone down and turned off the workshop lights. Tomorrow, there would be planning, logistics, risk assessment. Tomorrow, he would call the team and brief them on the new mission. Tomorrow, they would start the work of becoming what the world needed. Protectors standing in the gap between evil and the innocent. But tonight, Russell Carver allowed himself a moment of peace. His daughter was safe. Justice had been served. And the work he'd been born to do was just beginning. The rocking chair sat in the corner of the workshop, waiting for his first grandchild. Someday, Alexandra would sit in it with her own child, and she would tell the story of how her father crossed an ocean to bring her home. And that child would learn the same lesson Alexandra had learned, the same lesson Russell had lived his entire life. When evil threatens those you love, you don't wait for permission. You don't negotiate. You don't back down. You act, and you don't stop until they're safe.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.